Hello, everyone. Welcome to a behind the scenes look at Doctor Who Season 2, specifically our work on the episode Lux. My name is Standish. I was an executive producer on this project, and I'm thrilled to have you all with us. From a production standpoint, watching our characters evolve is always a highlight, and today you're going to get a front row seat to that transformation. We're joined by character artist Elpida, who'll be breaking down her journey of bringing the unnerving Mr. Ringading to life, from the very first concept sketches to his menacing 3D reality. We're also going to be hosting a Q&A session at the end of the presentation, so please feel free to drop your questions into the box at the bottom of your screen as we go. Without further ado, Elpida, please take it away.
Hello, everyone. Like Standish said, I am Elpida. I am a character artist in Framestore, and this is a talk about the making of Mr. Ringading. Through this talk, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about Framestore, so you know a bit about the company I work at, a bit about what it is to be a character artist, so I'll go through the process of what that job even is, and then, of course, the big event, which is the making of Mr. Ringading. I will go through the concept again through the very end, which is the 3D version, which is hopefully scary. I would like to start with a little bit about me so you know who is talking to you today. I joined Framestore about 8 years ago as an intern. That was the Launchpad program, which is a program that has internships as well. And I started working for Episodic with my first show being Curfew, a show that no one has watched, but I'm proud of it because that was my first one. Afterwards, I joined film for a while. I specialized as a modeler there for a while, and I worked on things such as Tom and Jerry, which I was very proud of because it was a cartoon I watched as a kid. Did Kingsman, and then went back to Episodic, where I did work such as Cowboy Bebop, The Crown, and of course, Doctor Who. I've been going around and I've done things such as advertisement, I've done immersive, I've pretty much touched every single type of show there is to do in Framestore the last few years. But let's talk about Framestore then. Framestore was founded in 1986, and you can see the photo of our founders there on the bottom left, actually. It started with music videos. Oh, sorry, I think this is post. It started with music videos, and then from then, Framestore expanded to things like advertisement, to episodic, film, and immersive. Immersive is things like theme park rides and shows like that. It's done really cool work through the years ever since. Some very notable work the last few years is Wicked, Barbie, and more recently, How to Train Your Dragon, Superman, and of course, many, many more. Because of that incredible work, we've won multiple awards, noting more specifically the 7 Oscars that we have won. 3 of those are for visual effects, and 4 of those are for technical achievements. So Framestore does a lot of technical advancement as well, so we win awards for that too. Next, I'd love to show you some of our work with a little Framestore reel. As I said, I am a character artist, so I'd love to show you what character art even is in something like visual effects. As a character artist myself, I'm actually a generalist, which means I don't do just one discipline. I actually do all three, which means I get to take a character from the beginning close to the very end of the asset work. The three main things that I do are modeling, texturing, and look dev, and I'll go through each one of them individually so you understand what those are. First comes modeling. Modeling is the part where we create just the model. I know that sounds obvious, but just a model of the character. This is a bit like taking a ZBrush, sorry, taking clay and putting into a software called ZBrush, how you would take clay in real life and sculpting it how you would in real life. At this point, we only care about the shape. We only care about how it looks as a model. Let's imagine like if it was made from marble. We don't really care about the color or anything else like that. That's something that comes in the next stage. In modeling, we also do topology, which is what you might have seen before, which is the model made out of little squares, really. And then something called UVing. UVing is where we take the model and we unwrap it a bit like candy wrap, like a candy wrapper, like the ones we get for Easter. And we flatten it out so that the texturing software can read the model and then we can texture on it. Texturing comes next. After we've UV unwrapped the model, we can start texturing it. That means coloring it in, really. At this point, we only care about the flat colors. We don't really care about how it looks when it's rendered, how shiny it is yet. We care about describing what the materials will be in the future. It is a little bit like painting Warhammer figures. So I like to imagine that I open the software, there's software like Mari and Substance Painter, and you go in and you paint on it. You can paint on the actual 3D figure, the 3D model, but you can also paint on the flat UV. So we have quite a bit of free liberty to do what we want there. There's also specialized maps that we can do, maps that describe, those are texture maps, maps that describe the roughness of something, the metalness or something, and so on. Once we do the model and the texture, we put it all together and we do the look dev. The look dev is when we render the asset and we see what the materials look like. Basically, we see how do they react to light. There's many renderers for that, and each studio, of course, uses their own renderer, but fundamentally, it's all the same. What we care about is that the material looks like how it should in real life. So here, this is made out of painted wood. So we really want to make sure that how it shines, the bumpiness of it, the detail of it, everything looks good. And this is the look dev stage that takes all the other work we've done before. Here you might see that there's also some fuzziness on the skirt. This is done by Groom. There is a separate department that just does hair. And this is usually specialist work, but generalists can do it as well. And there's many, many more departments that are connected to characters as well, such as rigging, which is a bit like putting a skeleton on a model so that the animators can use it in the future. Things like CFX, which is simulating muscles, and so on and so forth. So this is basically what you do as a character artist. I am a generalist, as I said, so I get to do all three, but people can specialize as well. You could do just the modeling, just the texturing, just the look dev. Each show has different needs, and other shows that I worked on where I only did one, or I did three, or only did two. It really depends on the needs of each situation. Next, I'd love to show you another reel. In this reel, you will see some examples of character work that we created here in Framestore, some being my actual personal favorites.
There is a house built out of stone, wooden floors, walls, and window sills, tables and chairs warmed by all of the dust. This is a place where I don't feel alone. This is a place where I feel at home.
What are we going to do now?
You ask a lot of questions, Mr. Scamander. That can get you killed.
We gotta get out of here.
Good. mean, escape?
Uh-huh.
Aren't we going to clear my name?
I don't know, I just said it!
What? But you lied to me.
Sometimes I dream I'm a tiger, but I always wake up a hyena.
When the gods came around to blow me down, held on as tightly as you held on me.
Goodbye, Christopher.
Held on as tightly as you held on me.
And now we've reached my favorite part of this whole presentation because it's where I worked, really. We've reached Mr. Ringading. As I said, I'm going to go through making the model, but also I'm going to talk to you about the concept art first. So we're going from the very beginning to the very end, really. And let's start with the concept art. The concept artist and art director on this was Ian Spendloff. He's art director, works in Framestore himself, so he's part of the team. And he was honestly really nice to work with, and we got to work really closely, and it was pretty much the favorite part of the show for me. These are some of his initial concepts. So in this stage, we didn't know much about the character. What we knew is that what came with the script. And the only thing was really that he has a blue skin, a piggy nose, and we don't really know what he is. So Ian had a lot of freedom to play around and find out what he will look like. Here he's sketching out a style that is like a 1930s era style, because we knew that that's the look they wanted to go for. And he's playing around with the design. Once he's figured out more which direction he wants to go for, he started playing around with the faces. And again, here he's going for the blue skin, the pink piggy nose, sometimes the cow nose, playing around with a hat, because we kind of knew that he would have a hat on. He has a mustache sometimes. He just plays around with the concept. He's inspired by old Fleischer cartoons, so things like Betty Boop and Popeye from back in the day, because they had this really creepy but also very appealing look. They also had really nice inking, which is something that Ian really liked. So these are some more versions of the character. All of that was, of course, shown to Russell T Davies, the showrunner of the show. Once we had a concept that Russell T Davies liked, we had an approved concept. Well, this was a preferred concept. This is the one that Russell T Davies saw and said, yeah, I'm seeing Ringading. We found him. And as you can see, again, he has his piggy nose. Now he has antennas. He has his bug-like quality. Again, we don't really know what he is. We're not supposed to know what he is. He's kind of a human, kind of a bug, but he has a piggy nose. We don't really know, and that's part of it. We know that he's supposed to be creepy and really manic. So one important part of his design is that his eyes are always quite far apart and always look like he's having an episode, really. He's got like the lapels that make him look more bug-like. His antennas that make him look more bug-like, but still that 1930s old cartoon. Once we were happy with the concept, this is the concept that I got. This is where I started getting introduced really into the show. This is called a model sheet. It's the type of concept that is given to the modelers for them to copy. It's not like a beautiful illustration. It's not a design that you make to sell that you have beautiful rendering skills. The most important part here is that the modelers know what they're supposed to build. And in this case, I like to think of it more as an architectural drawing. Usually characters are drawn in an A pose or a T pose. This is the way that the arms are spread out apart here. So because the models are usually modeled that way as well. I've worked very closely with Ian, which was, as I said, really nice. And when I had questions or I needed extra sketches, he added those for me. For example, here the bottom left, I asked for a side view because I wasn't sure how his belly is supposed to look like. And he added that to the sketch. And he we had back and forth, and I had questions all the time. And that was, again, one of my favorite parts of this show, actually. A very important part of the character is his smile. So the bottom right creepy smile that you can see there, that was part of the model sheet as well, because we really had to make sure that that looks good early on. And the reason is that he always has that creepy smile on. He basically never has it off unless he's talking, even when he's angry. So very, very important character feature that we needed to nail. This is where I get into some spoilers. So if you haven't seen the episode, I'm sorry in advance, but you'll get spoiled now. What happens in the episode is that we start with a Roger Rabbit-like character. So he's a 2D creature that comes into our 3D live action world. He jumps out of a screen, which was really interesting, also done in Framestore. But he absorbs the Doctor's power and then becomes more and more 3D and more real. This is where the 3D came on. So at stage 1, we have the 2D version. At stage 2, we have the 3D version, which is still cute. We looked at the Pixar-like look, maybe some stop motion to get that cute cartoony look, while still feeling creepy. And then the stage 3 is where we hopefully manage to scare some kids. That's where we just pushed the realism. We kept the design from before, but we made it look hyper real. Some references where, if anyone has watched SpongeBob before, there are some shots where SpongeBob actually is a real sponge and it looks really creepy. That's the kind of vibe, at least, I had in my mood board. There's some faces, again, of the same concept, stage 1, 2, and 3. Once again, stage 1 is where he looks 2D, and it's more of a 2D character coming in live action. Then is stage 2 is where he's like Pixar-like character, and stage 3 is when he starts to look creepy and scary, and hopefully scary enough for some people. This is what the storyboards look like. Ian created those so that he can communicate how the stage transformation happens on screen. He color-coded it as well so that we know who is who really in these stages. It starts with stage 1. Most of the episode is actually with him being 2D. The green color is like the in-between, where he has a bit more shading on. The yellow color is where we actually see the topology for a little bit. So it's one of the really rare moments where my topology is actually on a final render screen. I don't think that's ever happened before. Then he briefly turns into the cute Pixar-like style, and then he, of course, absorbs more of the Doctor's power and becomes a pink one, which is a very scary look. Afterwards, after he absorbs more power, he actually goes back to the 2D version and he becomes the god Lux, which is where the name of the episode comes from. And now I'm getting even more excited because I get to talk to you about 3D. This is where I came on. In this webinar, I don't really want to go necessarily through the steps of telling you this is modeling first, this is texturing, this is looked up. You know what they are, those things are now. But what I'm more interested in showing you is the back and forth with feedback we had, what's the process of showing something, getting some feedback, maybe doing the changes, and so on. It's a very normal part of a job as a character artist in any creative job, really, where you have to deal with any client of any sort. And I think it's the most fun part of the job in a lot of cases, and it is what I think is the coolest in this particular show. So let's start with that. As you can imagine, I'm getting a lot of feedback from our art director, Ian. What was incredible here is that Ian did a lot of draw over, so the feedback I got was very precise and specific, which was really nice. In this case, you can see one of my very first model passes that was quite early on. I have some very placeholder texture and looked up here, so we can start seeing it with the right colors in place, because that's how you can read the design a lot easier. The important thing about this character is that he's very appealing, especially at this stage. He's supposed to look quite cute, like we said, if we're looking at Pixar, for example, as a reference. So a lot of the feedback I got was actually a lot about his proportions. Things like make the head a bit smaller, make sure that the nails don't jump out, make the torso shorter, things like that. One crucial feedback I got here, which obviously I agree with, is that the clothes should be a lot thicker, because I think I did more of a realistic clothing here when it came to thickness, because we're looking at more of a stop motion look where they have those really thick clothes that look quite cozy and quite nice. I'll talk about this later on as well, but I do like to think of, when I create characters, a way for me to imagine how I should make them feel like is like, I like to think how we should feel like when I hug them. And I would feel like I would actually hug this guy. Maybe not immediately because he looks like he has something going on, but yeah, he looks cozy. Some more feedback is that I wanted one button instead of two, and so on. The cool thing about this show is that I actually worked quite closely with Ian, again, as I said, but the concept got affected by the actual 3D process. Ian updated the concept, especially of the stage 2 and stage 3 as we went along, because he realized that doing it in 3D at the same time actually solves a lot of the problems that maybe are not obvious in 2D. So in this case, after we had Ian's draw over, Ian actually went back and updated his stage 2 concept, and it was quite connected like that. So you can see here that he's making sure that it fits quite well with the 3D model feedback that he's given me as well. But since the character transitions on screen, it's quite important that that transition actually works. So something that Ian did a lot of was to do draw-overs of the 2D draw-overs of the 3D models, so that he can make sure that the characters are close enough so that the transition can happen seamlessly. Here there's a test where he just painted over the model, and you can see that it's very close to the actual 2D. The flower we removed later on because according to Ian was too busy, and I do agree. And there are some small changes, like small differences, I guess, with as the feet on the 2D are smaller than 3D, but that wasn't something anyone would notice, and it didn't really affect the transition, so that was totally fine. Earlier I mentioned that the smile was really important, so this actually I did first. This was one of the very first things I did on the show. Maybe that was done on like day 3, which was just concept, just sculpt, like in the software ZBrush, the smile, because it was very important to get the smile right. I also sculpted it in a smile pose, not a default pose first, because it was more important to get that first, and then turn that into a more neutral version of himself, because he will be smiling most of the time. And of course I got feedback on that. This is another draw over by Ian, he needs to be very appealing. He needs to be cute at this stage. So the feedback I got was all about making him rounder and cuter, really. Some feedback I got was that I had too many teeth before. I had like, I think 8 top and 8 bottom, and that was just, it looked a bit creepy because there was a few too many of them. More feedback was to make them more rounded, and more specific things like around their nose, around their head. Very good feedback was to actually sculpt the hair in as well as a placeholder, because it's hard to judge a design if you don't have hair in place. And things like that. The eyes should be a bit closer because that looks more appealing. And of course, anything to make him look cute at this point. So let's see what he looks in a turntable. This is pretty much a turntable that got approved. A turntable is just a render where the character spins around himself. Here we used shot lighting, so we use the lighting that we would use in the final shot to make sure that he looks as he should. But in-house we also use studio lights to make sure that all the materials work as they should as well. And as you can see, hopefully he's cute and huggable at this stage. You would think that we're done since it's got approved in a turntable, but that's not always the case. Usually things get feedback after they get in shot as well. And this is what happened here as well. That's very normal and happens all the time, because this is where we see an asset or a character in its true form, really. Here all the feedback we got was about making him appealing once again, and it was mostly for the face shape, so the shapes he makes when he emotes. Here we just Ian wanted him to have a more smoother cheek when he's smiling, for example. And some more feedback we got by Ian again was that, for example, when he makes a ooh sound, he should have a nice and rounded mouth. Again, that all has to do with making him appealing. So very good shape, very clean design, and always making sure that he feels cute at this point. The eyes were changed here, the They don't look that cute. Next, let's see what he looked like in shot.
The detail.
Now, the sad thing about this is that he unfortunately didn't get that many shots as a Pixar-looking character on stage 2. This is all we got. But hey, you can see my topology. I'm still very proud of him and I love him very, very much. So let's move to another part that I really like, stage 3. This is where we take what we've got so far and we make it creepy instead. These are some more concepts by Ian to show the difference between stage 1 and stage 2. Sorry, stage 2 and 3. Here we're showing that one is cute and clean, and the other one is supposed to get really wrinkly, really disgusting, and hyper real. So we're making his hair look more realistic now, or like messed up. His antennas actually have hair on them now. He should have things like liver spots, a lot of sun damage, has a real piggy nose now. His teeth should be wonky and dirty. He should have a lot of wrinkles. One thing that I remember that I really liked as feedback was that he should feel like his smile is almost pushing his skin back, so all those wrinkles are getting created because of it. Has a realistic ear now. Just the feedback was always make him as disgusting as you can, push this as much as you can so that it's unnerving. As I said, that's where I really thought, would I hug this guy? I probably wouldn't. It probably wouldn't be my favorite activity in the world. One interesting thing to keep in mind here that this is still supposed to be not over 18. So it is important to think of how do we push the design but not make it gory, for example. So we still had to stay in those lines. I had to suffer through this references, so you will with me as well. These are some of the references I got from Ian as a mood board, and of course I collected more afterwards as well, but this is where I started from. As you can see here, we have the piggy nose. We looked at renders that people have done of cartoon characters. That's the top left there, that's Futurama, where they made them realistic because that has that really creepy and weird look. Whatever the top right thing is as well, that's how he should feel like. And of course we looked at horse teeth because horse teeth usually have a lot of plague and a lot of issues, as well as some human teeth because we all struggle. He had like maybe smoker teeth and things like that. And of course, very damaged skin. So a lot of sun damage, a lot of wrinkles, just to make him feel able to push the texture and the detail as much as we can. These are some of the very first sculpts I did to start exploring that hyper-realism. We are keeping the shapes from before. So the thing about this concept and design is that we're not changing the character fundamentally. We're just making him hyper-real. So all the shape language is pretty much the same. The teeth are more wonky now. The eyes are bulging out, which is one of my favorite things because I think that makes him look even more manic than before. He has smoker lines because you thought that looks creepy. He has wrinkles now. Here the clothing pass wasn't done yet. I hadn't sculpted the clothes, but those get wrinkled up later on as well. He has realistic ears. And there's some more from the side view as well. He has more of a piggy nose, more wrinkles. You can see that he has a vein now. Later on, I would also do a sculpt on the antennas to make them look like realistic antennas. And for the neck, for example, I looked at E.T. because I thought that he had a really wrinkled up, a creepy looking neck. E.T. is a good example of a character that's kind of cute and creepy at the same time. And looked at that and tried to push in that direction as much as I can. And the feedback was always push it more, add more. But of course we needed more from texture as well. And you can see here the ear is now same shape language, but a realistic ear. Next, I don't know how many people here are from the UK or have lived in the UK, but you might notice who these hands are. This is some of the references I had for the hands. We wanted the hands to look quite bloated and sickly, so we looked at some of our royals at the time that looked like maybe they were going through something. We wanted them to feel quite uncomfortable, so like quite bloated, but still wrinkly, and we wanted to keep the realistic look. The very interesting thing, which I think is a cool design is that he still has his 4 fingers, so we're doing realistic sculpting of 4 fingers, which I believe looks a lot creepier. The nails are supposed to look quite yellow and quite sickly. They should feel like they're kind of almost dug into the skin, so it feels like the hands are really, really swollen. So that's the kind of look we wanted to go for. These are some of the primary sculpts I did of the hands. Here I'm pushing the realism more, suddenly has bony landmarks. I'm sculpting actual mid-frequency, which is the bumps and lumps you would see on the skin that you wouldn't do on a stylized character. The wrinkles that you would get on a hand, the wrinkles that you get on a wrist. Hopefully the nails feel like they're starting to get dug in. And there has a more of the realism and the inflated look that we had on our references. This was honestly really, really fun to sculpt. Next comes texture and look dev. A lot of the times when I work, if I get to do the texture and look dev myself, I will do those at the same time because I feel that they affect each other a lot. So I do a texture pass and then jump onto look dev as soon as I can. Sometimes I model and texture together as well. But here, this is a first texture and look dev pass. I tried to push the teeth, the skin, the liver spots, and so on. But let's look at the feedback. This is some of the feedback I got once again. It was feedback about the skin. Ian added the reference as well, the actual concept, to double check what it looks like according to the concept. The look we wanted to go for here was a guy that has never slept before, probably lives in his mom's basement, has never seen the sun. That's why he has to have this purple around his eyes, because he hasn't slept before. But we've also looked at like how older skin can look quite translucent, so that's something we wanted to get looking right as well. His pink lips look quite creepy. He's supposed to feel a little bit wet, a little bit shiny, so that was some of the feedback we got as well. Here there's groom feedback too. I didn't do the groom myself. For example, we had too many eyelashes before, we wanted a bit less of that. More feedback we got on the groom, for example, it was that the hair coming out of the ears looks a bit like spider legs, and that is great because that looks weird. There's hair on one of 2 of his moles, which is really fun. And things like this. So it was more about more wrinkles, more liver spots, more of everything really. More feedback I got was add more dandruff and things like that. And this is a screen grab from a turntable where I got more feedback on. Here, a very good note that I got is that the trousers feel like jeans, and that didn't feel like it suit him because he's a gentleman. We wanted the trousers to feel like more velvety, more like what the curtains and the jacket is made out of, that there should be more folds in the clothes, so we should push them to look more realistic. He does get taller as he goes through the stages, so we wanted to make sure that that is read across quite well. So feedback was to make the head and the hands smaller, for example, to push that. And again, more dandruff, more anything that will make him creepy. Yellower nails. I remember one of them was to make the stain on his shirt even stronger so that he feels like has this stain there. And this is the turntable of him. And the folds are done now. You can see that the trousers look more like velvet. Has his liver spots. He has dandruff as well. I put so much dandruff on his shoulders. His clothes should feel old and dusty. He has his like a more realistic and dirty shoes, his blue skin, and his stain on his shirt where we don't know what it is. It could be sweat, it could be drool, it could be anything really. But hopefully that's where we managed to scare people a little bit. One of the details I really like about this design is that his hat actually isn't floating anymore, since he's realistic, and it is a realistic hat now. It was floating above his head in all the previous stages. So let's see what he looks like in shot.
I am real. Sunlight.
With the light of the sun, 2 billion times more energy than the...
It is all yours! I am Right.
So it was him in his stage 3, and then when he becomes God, really at the end. That's all of them together. This is the turntable we showed Russell T Davies, the showrunner, and he said, yes, this is approved, this is done. So it's like, once again, you can see that on stage. One, he looks 2D, he's quite small and cute, and he's a 2D cartoon in real life. Then he turns into his cute version of himself, which is the stage 2. And then stage 3 is when he becomes creepy, and I really, really hope we manage to scare someone, at least some kids. But before I finish up, let's watch the breakdown from the whole episode. In this breakdown, you will see that not just my work, but you will also see the work that was done by our design team, which is a team that did the 2D works, all the 2D animation in Framestore. You will see that they also had the sequence that they had to make where the Doctor turns into a Scooby-Doo cartoon, which is really cool. And then, of course, the 3D that comes afterwards as well. So let's give it a watch.
Oh, it's such a beautiful day. I think I'll go to town. Get ready, 'cause here I come! Take a good gander, folks. Ain't got no surprises. Ta-da!
You're a cartoon.
Don't make me laugh.
New wave coming on strong. I can't feel my lips now. My hands are getting numb. I don't care 'cause I'm not done. New wave coming on strong. I can't feel my lips now. My hands are getting numb. I don't care 'cause I'm not done. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's go for a little more.
Get him, girls!
Hey, Mr. Sunshine, you wanna meet up sometime? Bright lights in your eyes, flashy talk and whispers. Save me some nighttime. Just call and drop a dime. Light me up and set me loose time. Oh my, oh my. Need some fun. Oh my, Mr. Sunshine.
I am real.
Oh my, Mr. Sunshine. Call me sometime.
What do you think?